Good evening, everyone. That song was Make Me Smile by the band Aztec Sun, and I am smiling because my name is Greg Magruder. I'm curator for global events at the National Geographic Society. It's my pleasure to welcome you to this second virtual trivia night, and to be specific, an Explorer Trivia Night. National Geographic has been presenting events in Washington, D.C. since its founding in 1888. We've done Explorer Trivia Nights for a few years now at our headquarters in downtown DC, and they always sell out because we have an element that no one else doing trivia around the country has: National Geographic Explorers. National Geographic is a nonprofit organization, and our mission is to use the power of science, exploration, education, and storytelling to illuminate and protect the wonders of the world. Now, we do this by supporting explorers like the two you'll meet tonight, photographer Brian Skerry and marine scientist Asha de Vos. And thanks to generous support from people like you, we're able to elevate the work of Brian and Asha and so many others. You can support us by donating. You can go to natgeo.org. Now, one group that is changing the world one trivia night at a time is our host for this evening's event, District Trivia. Before the pandemic, they operated more than 100 live events around the city. Since the pandemic, they've been doing virtual events, sharing their events with thousands of people around the country and around the world. And for tonight, we've got 3,500 people who have registered for this event around the world. So let's take it away and join this trivia night with Asha, Brian, and the queen of trivia in Washington, D.C., Lindsay Maycheck. All right, Lindsay, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Greg. I don't know why I'm waving to you, but you guys can see me. I'm waving to everybody at home. Welcome to the Virtual Explorer Trivia Night. Before we get going into our questions, everyone needs to make sure that they have two things. That is a pen and a paper. That is all you need to play, just a pen and a paper. So if you don't have that, quick run and get it. Also at this time, look around at your neighbors if someone is next to you and decide if they are friend or foe. Do you want to play together on a team or go head to head? That's it. That's all you need to play, except the 3 rules. So rule number 1, don't shout out the answers. Please do not put your answers into the chat. That's a bad strategy if you're putting your answers everywhere for everyone to see. Number 2, don't cheat, don't Google, don't use your phone. It is trivia. It is not that big a deal. So no cheating. And then rule number 3, the most important rule: it is my game, my rules. So everyone needs to be nice to me, especially in the chat. I'm going to read that later. So we have what we need. We know the rules. It is time to meet our first explorer. Brian Skerry is used to winning. In 2017, he was awarded the title National Geographic Explorer of the Year. So we'll see if he keeps those winning ways for trivia tonight. As a photojournalist specializing in marine wildlife and underwater environments, he spent a large part of his life beneath the surface, capturing and sharing those important ocean stories.
I was inspired to be an ocean explorer from a very young age. The ocean had these mysteries that were just waiting to be discovered. I had an epiphany. I would be an ocean explorer, but I would do it with a camera.
Look at him, he's right there! Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah!
None of this stuff is without risk. You know, I've been lost under Arctic ice, chased by sperm whales, had to get out of the water more than once because sharks sort of got a little bit too frisky. Over time, I began to see a lot of problems. And I felt a sense of urgency to turn my cameras toward these things as well. My job is to go to as many of these places as I can and tell a complete story so we can look to the solutions. If we can create these large places that are protected, the ocean can come back. Our species depends on it, and it's what's right.
2, 1, go.
So Brian, we saw you in that video. You said there was a lot of risks in the ocean, including sharks. So I need to know, are you more nervous being in the ocean with sharks or nervous to play trivia?
Oh, that's easy. Far more nervous tonight. Yeah, sharks are a piece of cake compared to Lindsay and district trivia. So yeah, gotta pace myself a little bit tonight.
Excellent. So you have your pen and paper ready to go?
I do.
Yes, you're good. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to ask the questions. You're going to write down those answers. Don't share them yet. We will do that at the end. You got to follow the rules just like everybody else. Okay, so write them down. Easy as that. Any questions?
No.
Okay, good, because I have the questions. You have the answers. That's the whole point of trivia. So already passed the first one.
All right, good. I think my work is done here. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so question number one. Which came first? So this is an either or. Which came first? The recording of a giant squid in its natural habitat or the release of the film Sharknado? So which came first chronologically? The recording of a giant squid in its natural habitat or the release of the film Sharknado? So for your answer, even just put giant squid or Sharknado, either or, 50-50, a coin flip. You know that I'd have to ask you a question about Sharknado to kick off the night.
Yeah, there you go.
Question number two, when they're in large groups on pack ice, which of the 5 basic senses do harp seal mothers use to identify their young? So question 2, when they're in large groups on pack ice, which of the 5 basic senses do harp seal mothers use to identify their young? You were confident in that one. So question number 3, we'll move right into it. Question 3, what is the minimum age requirement for the Professional Association of Diving Instructors Open Water Certification course? 10, 12, or 14 years old? So question number 3, you have 3 choices, 10, 12, or 14. But again, what is the minimum age requirement for the Professional Association of Diving Instructors Open Water Certification course? 10, 12, or 14?
All right.
Question number 4, it would not be trivia without a presidential first question. So question number 4, who was the first US president to be 3D scanned and printed into a bust and life mask? You thought that I was going to ask about something that you know that we saw in the video, and it might be the same answer, it might not. That's for you to determine, but I'd like to know who was the first US president to be 3D scanned and printed into a bust and life mask.
Oh, okay. Wow. All right.
Brian brings up a good point with his pondering there. The questions are going to get harder as we go. So that last question was worth 4 points. The next one is worth 5 points. So number 5, 5-pointer, averaging 3,700 miles each way. Which species of sea turtle has the longest migrations between breeding and feeding areas? So question number 5, which species of sea turtle has the longest migrations between breeding and feeding areas? Question number 5.
All right. These are tough.
These are tough, and they're only going to get tougher. That's the thing. They're only going to get tougher.
All right.
Question number 6. We're staying in the ocean here, obviously. Number 6. What type of filter feeding system do right whales use inside their mouths? So question number 6. What type of filter feeding system do right whales use inside their mouths? I'd like to remind everybody at home, spelling does not count. So spelling does not count. If spelling counted, no one would ever get any questions right ever. At least that's what I've found. So spelling doesn't count, but question number 6 there. What type of filter feeding system do right whales use inside their mouths? Question number 7. Which film director, so I'm asking for a film director, Brian, which film director got his head stuck in the mechanical shark on the Jaws set? I'm assuming you've seen Jaws.
Once or twice.
You get asked about it a lot. You knew that I'm going to talk about a movie about shark, I'm going to talk about the shark movie.
Yeah, it actually was the movie that made me become a diver. Everybody else was going away from the ocean, and it made me, I wanted to be Matt Hooper, but I think I became Quint. So anyway, yeah.
Will we'll see if that helps you get this answer correct. But
Yeah,
again,
well, that's a whole different thing. Yeah, right.
Number 7, which film director got his head stuck in the mechanical shark on the Jaws set? So that's number 7. which film director got his head stuck in the mechanical shark on the Jaws set? So let everybody ponder that for a second, because these are getting harder. Question number 8. Question number 8. Within 5 feet. So Brian, you have a range to be correct. I'm feeling generous today. So within 5 feet, according to the Smithsonian Institution, what is the average size of a grown female megalodon? Something I know you haven't been in the water with, but question number 8, within 5 feet, not in a while. Question number 8, within 5 feet, according to the Smithsonian Institution, what is the average size of a grown female megalodon?
Okay.
Thinking on that. So that's an 8-point question in feet. I also have the answers in meters for all of our friends that are not playing in the States. But for you, I'm asking in feet because you're in the US right now.
Okay.
Question number 9. Question number 9. According to the National Fisheries Institute in the US, what is the most consumed seafood? So what is the most consumed seafood in the United States? Question number 9. According to the National Fisheries Institute, what is the most consumed seafood? Feeling confident. Question number 10 now, the 10-pointer. Question number 10, 10 points. In which island nation was the first underwater hotel opened? So in which island nation was the first underwater hotel opened? So looking for the name of that island nation. Brian's thinking hard about that one. So is everyone at home, because it's the 10-pointer. So not a lot of people are supposed to get it right. So when you are at home, and Brian too, questions 1 through 10, if you get it wrong, no big deal, okay? Because we're not going to take any points away. Guess away for questions 1 through 10. However, for our wager question, you can actually lose points here. So you can wager 0 to 10 points. If you get it right, you earn those points. And if you get it wrong, we're taking those points away. So this is where that game theory comes in. But I'm going to ask the question. So Brian, you can decide how confident you are in your answer based on the question. Easy, right?
Yeah, I can, I think. All right.
Hey, you're like, I got to hear the question first. And he's not going to tell us what he's wagering because, again, you have no friends here, Brian. Everyone's trying to beat your score.
I know. It's vicious. Shark eat shark kind of world.
Yes, exactly. So your wager question, within 4 feet. So I once again gave you a range again, within 4 feet. From what depth, we're going underwater, from what depth was the first underwater photograph captured in 1856? So the first underwater photograph, 1856. And I want to know where depth-wise that photo was captured.
All right.
1856. First underwater photograph. From what depth was it captured? It wasn't a great photograph, but 1856, still pretty impressive. So lock in that answer. Make sure you circle the amount you want to wager, everybody at home. Brian, you too. So 0 to 10 points. Feeling confident, wager more. Not so confident, wager less. Feeling good. Brian, you ready to lock in your answers?
Yes, I think I am. I am hopeless. So this is either I got it or I don't.
That's normally how trivia questions work, either right or wrong. Yes.
I want to phone a friend right now. Can I get a lifeline? Or is
no, unfortunately, it's just you. It's just you. And Asha and you have a little bit of a competition going on here too. So
I really
no friends whatsoever.
I wish I hadn't talked so much trash with Asha in the days leading up to this. But hey, it is what it is.
It is what it is. Well, let's see how it goes. So question number 1, which came first, the recording of a giant squid in its natural habitat or the release of the film Sharknado? Brian, what did you have?
Well, I just want to say, first of all, I really wrestled with this one. I've done stories on squid, and I don't really know them to be especially noisy. So I don't know that squid make noise. That being said, I wouldn't be surprised if some researcher put a hydrophone down and was able to capture some sounds of a squid long before Sharknado was around. So I went with squid.
You are correct. So the giant squid is the first one. 1 point. You are not shut out. You have a point. So the giant squid, the first Video, the natural recording, was in 2012 in its natural habitat. Sharknado came out in 2013. So 1 point for Brian and 1 point for you guys at home. So number 2, we see the harp seal there. When they're in large groups, which of the 5 basic senses do harp seal mothers use to identify their young? And what was your answer?
Smell, the sense of smell.
Absolutely. The smell is correct. So that is 2 points. So if you had 1 and 2 correct, you have 3 total points. That's what Brian has.
Can we stop right here? Can I be done now?
You're done. You're batting 1,000. So 2 points for smell for harp seals. That was one of your many National Geographic covers. So why are harp seals so beautiful, and what did you learn from being in their environment?
Well, harp seals, it was sort of the first big natural history story that I did for the magazine. And it was also the first story where I was able to include environmental issues within the broader context of a natural history coverage. I lived, on a fishing boat up on the ice for weeks at a time. We used it like an icebreaker, and I was able to spend day and night with these amazing animals. It's a, sort of pristine wilderness up there that unfortunately is going away because of climate change. The ice is melting, the retreat of sea ice. But those harp seal pups are very beautiful when they're born. They're these little white helpless animals. They have the second fastest weaning in the animal kingdom. They actually go from being completely helpless on day 1 to being known as a fat white coat at about 2 weeks old. And they've nursed from mom every day, and the mom has to sniff her pup to make sure that she's feeding her pup and not someone else's. And then they're on their own. They take to that icy water. It's about almost -2 Celsius, about 28, 29 degrees Fahrenheit. And they live in that icy realm. So yeah, beautiful place to see these animals, which are also quite stunning. And it was a great story to be able to do for National Geographic.
I'm picturing all the moms and dads at home and parents like now going to see if they can smell the difference between their kids after learning that.
Yeah, with my daughters. Yeah.
Yeah. So
they think I'm
yeah, I think all kids think their parents weird, though. That's totally fair. And speaking of kids, question number 3, what is the minimum age requirement for the Professional Association of Diving Instructors Open Water Certification course? 10, 12, or 14 years? Brian, which one did you have? What age?
I went with 14 only because I thought that to be an open water diver, you might need to be slightly older than just a basic certification class. So, but I'm not certain. I guessed.
That is a guess that was incorrect. So unfortunately, Brian, no such luck there. It is 10 years old is the correct answer. So if you have 10,
Wow.
add 3 points to your total. Brian, you started diving at a young age, not quite that young. And I actually have your YMCA card that we're going to share and show.
Oh, nice.
What advice do you have for new divers?
Well, first of all, I'd like to comment that it's actually staggering that I haven't changed since I was 15 years old. So I got that going for me. The advice I would give to new divers is, pay attention, do diligence in the class, read the physics, understand the diving, but have fun. I mean, diving is one of those great things that you can do just about anywhere you live that there's water. It doesn't even have to be ocean. If there's a lake or another body of water, reservoir or something, you can go exploring. And the minute you put that mask on and slip beneath the water, you are in another world. So I would encourage anyone who has an interest in doing that kind of thing to get out and do it. And the course is easy. It's not hard, but you're in an alien environment. So you want to have your wits about you, so to speak.
Absolutely. So question number 4 now. Who was the first US president to be 3D scanned and printed into a bust and life mask? Brian, what was your answer?
Yeah, my inclination was to go with Abe Lincoln, but I said Clinton. Just trying to think 90s, maybe the technology was there at that point, but another Hail Mary pass there for me.
It was a guess that was wrong again. I've stumped you twice now. So question number 4 was President Obama. So President Obama was the first to be 3D scanned and printed. Also, why I'm bringing this up was because President Obama was the first president to be photographed underwater by you.
Yes.
So how does it feel to now be a trivia question?
Well, it doesn't feel very good, actually. I mean, if you asked me the other one, I probably would have had a 50-50 chance. But yeah, that was an extraordinary experience, spending time with President Obama. He's a heck of a swimmer. I had a hard time keeping up with him out there in Midway Atoll, where he had just created the world's largest marine protected area, something that our planet desperately needs. We need more of those. We live on a water planet, and every other breath that we take, no matter where you live, comes from the ocean. So protecting the ocean is in our best interest, and having leaders that understand that science and sort of taking that conservation action is really vital.
Absolutely. We're staying in the ocean. Obviously, this is our theme of the round. So within the ocean that needs to be protected, number 5, which species of sea turtle has the longest migrations between breeding and feeding areas? Brian, what's your answer?
Man, this was a tough one too. I wrestled between, and I'm probably not even close, but I wrestled between loggerhead and leatherback. I'm gonna go with loggerhead.
Okay, I was going to give you a hint there because it is leatherback. And I was like, you did a lot of stories and a lot of research on leatherback. So I thought that was going to be an obvious one, that it was, and you've done stuff with loggers too, but I thought that one was kind of a gimme.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, I know that loggerheads do travel great distance. I know that leatherbacks, there's sort of this mysterious period in their life where nobody knows where they are during their sort of teenage years. When they're mutant ninja teenage turtles. And and I thought, well, because there's some sort of puzzle pieces missing with leatherbacks, I would go with loggerhead. But all right, I'm batting 1,000 on the last 3. So let's hope I come return here a little bit with the next question.
I believe in you. You got 3 points. You're not shut out. It's going to be fine. So question number 6, what type of filter feeding system do right whales use inside their mouths?
Baleen.
That is correct for 6 points. So now your total is up to 9. So baleen there, the type of feeding system in right whales' mouths. So let's head into question number 7. Number 7, which film director got his head stuck in the mechanical shark on the Jaws set? So which film director, number 7, worth 7 points? Brian, your answer.
Steven Spielberg.
Ooh, that is a very good guess, but this is a tricky question because it was in fact George Lucas.
Oh,
Spielberg directed Jaws, but George Lucas came to visit set and Spielberg wanted to play a little bit of a prank on him.
Oh man, that's just not fair at all. Wow.
I know. I'm sorry. Asha's gonna be thinking that she's worried about what's coming up for her next, but we can see in these images here that you've taken that you were up close with these sharks.
Yeah.
How do you deal and manage with that risk when you're in the water with them and these big, beautiful, and sometimes dangerous creatures?
Yeah, I mean, it really is sort of a double-edged sword. In underwater photography, you need to be very close to your subject. Unlike terrestrial photography, I don't have the luxury of using a telephoto lens. I can't, sit for weeks in a blind with a 600 millimeter lens. Got to get within a couple of meters usually of these animals. And when it's a shark, that can be a little dicey. But, most of my experiences over hundreds, if not thousands of shark dives have been very good. The sharks tend to be very polite. But you want to stack the deck in your favor. This is not without risk. So I usually have an assistant in the water with me. Maybe I'm wearing chainmail suits, some sort of protective gear. And, I listen to that little voice inside of me. If it doesn't feel right, no shame in getting out of the water.
Absolutely. You need to know what the risks are, manage that assessment 100%. So question number 8.
As I'm going through here and not doing so well, maybe I should have actually read some of the stories that I photographed instead of just looking at the pictures. But, I'm a photographer, so.
When we talked prior to actually hosting Trivia Tonight, I just knew that you could handle these tough questions. So I'm not sorry about it. And I want to be very clear, okay?
No. Hey, the fact, if I got 3, I can go home a happy man.
You're at 9 points right now. So question number 8, we're going to go to number 8. You have a chance to get more points here. Number 8, within 5 feet, what is the average size of a grown female megalodon?
Yeah. That was a tough one because some people say 100 feet, some people say 80 feet. I've always been a little more conservative with megalodons, which, by the way, are related not to the great white, but to the mako shark that we have today. I'm going to say, I was going to say 60, I'm going to say 55 and hedge my bet. So I'm going to go with 55 feet on the megalodon.
The correct answer is 52 feet. So that means you're within the range. So you're getting those points. So
All right.
47 to 57 earns you an 8 points. So anybody at home, 47 to 57, 8 points, 52 feet. So quite large. Great whites around 13 feet. So huge. Are you happy to not be diving with megalodons, or would you want to take their photograph?
I
There's a
am.
great white there.
Well, I would love to take their photographs, but yeah, I don't think I'd want to be in the water with them. A little interesting story. I had an exhibit, a photo exhibit at the Smithsonian Institute of Natural History Museum a few years back. And before the opening for the event, my photos were arranged near a megalodon set of jaws, replica jaws or fossilized jaws. And I remember being there like an hour earlier, and there was this little boy, he was probably like 7 or 8 years old, who was walking around. And I said something like, "Pretty cool, huh?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I started talking to him and told him what I did. And he said, "Have you ever seen a megalodon?" And I said, "No, they're actually extinct." And he goes, "No, they're not." And he had seen a documentary, not on National Geographic, where, they said that the megalodon was still around. So here I am, like an hour before I have to make a speech and give this opening for the exhibit. And I'm arguing with this 7-year-old who's adamantly telling me that megalodons are real. They're in the ocean right now. And I'm like, "Listen, kid, they're not." And anyway, he's probably smoking me right now tonight on trivia. So just for the record. But anyhow.
If he thinks that they're still in the ocean, he better get that question right with how big they are with 52 feet.
Yeah,
So
there you go.
So question number nine, according to the National Fisheries Institute, what is the most consumed seafood based on pounds per person? So Brian, what was your answer?
My answer was salmon. And I said that because I worked on a fisheries story not that long ago and a aquaculture story, and I learned that salmon actually replaced canned tuna in the United States as the most consumed seafood species or item. But that was a few years ago, so I don't know if it's changed.
You're so close. Canned tuna is third. Second is salmon, and first is shrimp. You were so close, but still wrong.
Man,
still
wow.
wrong.
See,
Sorry.
that's current information, because literally as recently as maybe 5 years ago, I think it was salmon, and I knew it was canned tuna before that. But do I even get I named 2 of the 3. Do I get like half a point?
You get some virtual high fives, but you still have a chance to get points with the next question, number 10. In which island nation was
on this one? Yeah.
Question number 10, in which island nation was the first underwater hotel opened?
All right, I was sort of thinking Fiji, and then I was, it has to be somewhere beautiful and tropical. And then I remembered, I thought I read something once about the Maldives having a hotel, but I don't know. I was wrestling, but I'm going to go with that just because I sort of have this,
You got to stop talking. You got it right.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right.
Maldives is correct.
That was the one I was the least confident of. I was really confident of salmon, but
yeah, so 10 points to you. You're standing, your total is 27. So everybody at home, if you have Maldives, you get 10 points added to your total. So Brian, you've stayed for a week underwater where you lived. I'm going to guess it was a little bit different than this luxury hotel experience. What was it like living underwater for a week?
Yeah, thanks for asking that. That was a really cool experience. I was an aquanaut. When you live underwater, you are called an aquanaut. And this was in the Aquarius habitat, which is the world's only saturation facility for scientists. It's located off of Key Largo, Florida. It's at a depth of almost 60 feet. And what saturation means is that when you're breathing air, like we breathe here on land, it's made up of about 21% oxygen and 79% nitrogen. We breathe the same thing underwater, but the nitrogen goes into solution. It goes into your tissues and your blood, just like the gas in a champagne bottle or a bottle of soda. When you release the pressure, the bubbles come out. So as a diver, you have to come up slowly or you have to decompress. Saturation means your tissues are fully saturated. You can absorb no more. So when you're living underwater, that means you can go out of that habitat for as many hours a day and explore without any penalty. But at the end of the week, I had to do a 17-hour decompression and then, sort of be watched by medical doctors. So it was a very Spartan environment. You're in this little 43-foot habitat. It's about the size of a school bus with 5 other people. You're not allowed to take showers or use any sort of deodorants or anything with scent, because if there's a fire, they want to be able to smell the electrical fire. So it was a really cool experience from an exploration standpoint, but hanging out with my peeps at 60 feet, for a week was more than enough time. So, yeah.
And very different than a luxury hotel, because somehow I feel like they'll find a way to get some deodorant in there. I don't know. I can't speak to it exactly.
Yeah.
But let's now head into our last question, because you have 27 points, which is a pretty solid score for our last question. So here we go. Within 4 feet, from what depth was the first underwater photograph captured in 1856? Remember, if you get it right, you get those points. You get it wrong, we're taking those points away. So Brian, how many points did you wager? First question.
I remember this. I remember reading about that guy. I remember his name, and I can't think of it right now. But my inclination, again, I like to, give context to my thinking here. I wanted to say it was like 30 feet, but then I started thinking it was probably a surface supply diver. It was probably a little shallower than that. So I was within 5 feet. Was that the deal?
Within 4 feet. Within 4 feet. Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna split the difference. I'm gonna say it was like 15 feet of water. Although I'm gonna go with 15.
15 feet. You are within the range, barely. So 18 feet is correct. 18
wow.
feet. So if you had 14 to 22, yes. So wait, what was the amount that you wagered?
5 points.
5 points. Okay, perfect. So now you have 32 points. 32 points for Brian, a solid score. And actually he took the tripod with the camera and just lowered it into a rope into the water. So right. Underwater photography has come a long way, as we've seen with your beautiful images. So very briefly, give me a 10-second quick advice to Asha. She's coming up next. What's your advice to her?
I would say she should feign sickness or a stomach flu or something, and pack it in. She's got a sterling reputation. Why tarnish it by looking bad, as I just did in trivia? I'm doing this in a very benevolent way, Asha. I just want you to know that I'm thinking of you.
Perfect. Well, Asha is going to be back after the break. So in 30 seconds, stay tuned for more trivia. Brian Skerry, thank you so much for joining us. And I think you'll be back to talk some trash a little bit later.
I will. I have no doubt that she'll rub it in my face if she does better. So I'll be here to take my lumps. All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Virtual Explorer Trivia Night. I'm your host, Lindsay, with District Trivia. Our next explorer is coming all the way from Sri Lanka, and we have people right now playing from all across the world. We have folks in Canada, Boston, London, Brazil, Peru, Australia, all over the world. So if you are tuning in, thank you so much for playing trivia with us. And now we have to introduce our next player, Dr. Asha de Vos. She's the first National Geographic Explorer from Sri Lanka, and she co-founded Sri Lankan's first marine conservation research and education organization. So let's take a look and learn more about Asha's story.
As a kid, I used to lie under a blue whale skeleton for hours on end and try to figure out what this creature was. A lot of people will look at whales and say, oh, they're so beautiful and charismatic. They also have an incredibly important role in the oceans. And our lives are so tightly interlinked. How do we coexist with these animals and the environment that they live in? We have the opportunity to guide, to care, to live in harmony with nature. That's really important. My name is Asha de Vos, and I'm a marine biologist and an ocean educator.
So my first question, Asha, are you awake? Because you are in Sri Lanka right now. What time is it?
Well, it is just past 5 a.m., but I have been up for a very long time. I woke up at 3:30 a.m. to make sure that I looked awake, as one would want to do. I watched Brian's round because obviously, like I need to make sure that where he stands and how things are going. Because my whole goal tonight is really to beat Brian. Like it's not about showing my intelligence; it's about beating Brian. Let's be clear. So
you also have a secret weapon though with you. You have a secret weapon. You have a helper with you, so we need to see her.
Maybe not. Sorry, what did you say? Did you call
Asha
me?
too. Feeding her some of the answers, but do you have your pen and paper ready to go? I want to get right into questions.
Yep, I'm ready. I've got my.
All right, so she's good.
For posterity.
Here we go. Question number 1. Remember, don't shout out the answers, folks at home. Don't put them into the chat. Just play along on your pen and paper. So number 1, what is the second most widely consumed beverage worldwide? Coffee or tea? The number 1 is water. So I want to know what number 2 is, coffee or tea. What is the second most widely consumed beverage worldwide? Coffee or tea? Either or question.
I'm already nervous, by the way. This is
I think this next question will help you be not nervous because you're going to get this one. I guarantee it. Question number 2, which primary color is the poop of a blue whale? So question number 2, which primary color is the poop of a blue whale? For those of you at home that want a little more hint, primary colors are red, yellow, or blue. So it is one of those 3 colors. The poop of a blue whale, red, yellow, or blue. She's smiling. She knows it. Question number 3. Of the 5 ocean basins, how many contain krill? So of the 5 ocean basins, how many contain krill? Question number 3. Question number 4. When we were talking before, you said that you were hoping that I was going to ask a question about this movie, and I did not add it in. This was here all along. Question number 4. In the animated film Finding Nemo, Dory speaks which non-human language? Using language in quotes. So in the animated film Finding Nemo, Dory speaks which non-human language? Question number 4. Question number 5. For how many minutes can a person of average health hold their breath underwater? So for how many minutes can a person of average health hold their breath underwater? Don't go try this now, people. But for how many minutes can a person of average health hold their breath underwater? Question 5. Question number 6, worth 6 points. In which trench is the Challenger Deep located, the deepest part of the ocean? So in which trench is the Challenger Deep located, the deepest part of the ocean? Question number 6. Asha, you're feeling confident. I like it. You're like, I know this. I'm right into it.
Poker face.
Poker face, yes. Question number 7. Which nautical term shares its name with a common type of audio equipment in movie making? So question number 7, which nautical term shares its name with a common type of audio equipment in movie making? So you were being too confident, so I had to bring you back down to earth. So it's a nautical term that shares its name with a type of audio equipment used in movie making.
I've never made a movie. Seems unfair.
Yeah, but you've watched them and you've also been on boats and no nautical terms. So no sympathy for you or Brian. Question number 8 now. Which country elected the first female prime minister in the world? So question number 8, which country elected the first female prime minister in the world? Question number 8. She's confident. Probably folks at home are probably confident too. They're figuring out how the game works at this point. Question number 9. In Herman Melville's novel Moby Dick, what type of whale was Moby Dick? So what type of whale was Moby Dick? 9-pointer.
I hope Brian's
9 points
right now.
Oh, he is. We're going to bring him back on and we're going to compare your scores. Dun, dun, dun. Question number 10, worth 10 points, Reaching speeds of 511 kilometers an hour, or for those of you in the States, that's 317 miles per hour. So very, very fast. In which country was the water speed record set? So this is the water speed going across in the boat, the water vessel. So I'd like to know, in which country was the water speed record set? Someone will call me out if it wasn't exactly a boat. So reaching speeds at 317 miles per hour or 511 kilometers an hour. In which country was the water speed record set? She's pondering. Pondering is the word of the night, I feel. Both of you guys very concentrated. And lastly, your last question of the day. So this is the wager. So everybody, this is the first question of the round, the only question of the round where you could possibly lose points. If you get it right, you get those points. You get it wrong, we're taking those away. So 0 to 10, what are up for grabs? Wager wisely. So according to the UN, within 5%, so Asha, you have that range, 5% to be correct on either side. What percentage of the world's population live within 100 kilometers of a coast, of the coast, specifically the ocean coast? So what percentage of the world's population live within 100 kilometers, or approximately 62 miles for my American friends, from the coast? So within 5%, what percentage of the world's population live within 100 kilometers of the coast? And make sure you circle the amount that you want to wager from 0 to 10 next to your answer. So Asha, how you feeling?
I mean, it's hard to say, but you know, like I want to say I'm super confident. I am a morning person, so I normally am pretty sharp at this time, but this trivia question thing is like really stumping me. So let's see how I do.
Good, I like that. I want to stump you guys. Normally you're the ones doing the talking, so we're throwing you out, what's the phrase that I'm looking for? I was going to say fish out of water, but that felt a little bit too on the nose. So question number 1, let's go through your answers. Number 1, what is the second most widely consumed beverage worldwide? Is it coffee or tea?
Tea.
Tea, that is correct.
I mean, the point being that even if it was coffee, I would say tea because I'm Sri Lankan and we are one of the biggest producers of tea and exporters to the world. So it would have felt wrong to say anything else. So I feel like you kind of coerced me into that answer.
I did. It was a 1-pointer. So, got to make sure you're not shut out. So 1-pointer, tea is your correct answer. And you don't drink coffee, you told me. So the fact that you're awake and not drinking coffee, I'm very impressed, as is everybody.
I don't drink tea either, really. So I'm just, I run on Asha energy. If anyone's met me in real life, they will know what that's like. It's imprinted, I think.
Good. Well, you bring the Asha energy to this next question because you know why I'm asking it. So which primary color is the poop of a blue whale? It's a 2-pointer. Asha, what color is the poop of a blue whale?
There we go. Beautiful photograph of me looking really excited with my 2 pots of red blue whale poop.
Red blue whale poop worth 2 points. So you have 3 total points. So red blue whale poop. You're known proudly as the whale poop lady. There you are holding up the poop. How did that lead to your eureka moment?
So actually, that's a great question. And like not everybody's career started with a pile of poop, but mine did. And that's sort of like why I think, my story feels so like amazing. I was doing some research on a whale research vessel off the southeast coast of Sri Lanka. We were traveling around, we were looking for sperm whales. We were following them acoustically. So it was this whole exciting moment. And I was on deck, looking out for signs of life. I was working as the deckhand on the boat, but I was also an observer. And I just remember we were kind of moving around, and in the distance, I saw this really tall, powerful blow. And I knew it wasn't a sperm whale because, fun fact, sperm whales have blowholes or the equivalent of a nostril, but they have only one, and it's on the left-hand sides of their heads. So normally when they exhale, it kind of goes off slanted, and you can kind of tell that it's a sperm whale in distance versus some of the other species. And there was this but it was this tall, powerful vertical blow. And I was like, whoa, what is this? And I was like, I think it's a blue whale, right? So I tell the captain of the boat, and I'm like, we need to move, like we have to go in 11 o'clock, 2 kilometers. And he's like, why? And I'm like, I think there's a blue whale. And there's this whole scene. Right now I'm the deckhand, I'm fully taking us off course, which I don't know. I obviously didn't think too much about it before I like blurted it out. Anyway, we moved closer and closer, and we get as we get closer, I'm like, wow, like, you know, tears streaming out of my eyes because now I'm so afraid I'll lose the sight. And then I realized that it wasn't one blue whale, but there was 6 in this area besides football pitch, right? So I just finished my undergrad. I was like, you know, I'd learned everything I needed to know. I got my textbooks, and I had sat with in classes, and I'd been told that large whales like blue whales feed in cold waters and then breed in warm tropical waters. So if you don't know where Sri Lanka is, check it out on a map. We're 5 degrees above the equator, beautiful tropical island, right? So super warm. And I wasn't expecting the whales to feed there. I was expecting them to just be breeding and calving. And, you know, when you see whales breeding, you're expecting them to be, you know, having a little hanky-panky. So that's what I was looking out for, or some calves. And that's not what I saw. Like, we got there, these whales were just kind of lazing about. I was like, oh, wow, I've just changed the course of this whole expedition. And these whales are just hanging. Like, what is this? And then one of them pooped. And I was like, what? And it was this bright red color, which obviously, oh my gosh, dear audience, if you ever see a more beautiful animal poop, please do send me a photograph, because that does not exist. But apart from that, you know, I think at that point I realized that unlike other whales, like, these animals had obviously figured out how to feed in these warm tropical waters, because if something's pooping, that means they're feeding close by. And so that was my eureka moment. And nobody, like, all this time, everyone said they moved to cold waters. And I'm like, no, something different. So that was like really, like, literally life-changing.
Life-changing, and also led you to 2 points in trivia. So really a big deal. So 2 points for you for that answer.
I mean,
so you're at 3 total.
I feel like you should get more points just for telling a great story as well, but okay, whatever.
I'm sorry, if I gave you guys all the points for the great stories, you and Brian would both have 1,000,000 points. So sorry, can't do it. I just got to move on to question number 3. So of the 5 ocean basins, how many contain krill, Asha?
I'm gonna go with 4.
4 of them? That is incorrect. It is 5. 5.
Oh, crappers.
Yeah, 5. I'm sorry. No 3 points for you, but that's okay. We're going to move right into the next question, number 4. In the animated film Finding Nemo, Dory speaks which non-human language? What does Dory claim to speak? And she kind of does speak it.
She speaks whale.
She speaks well, yes. So 4 points for you, Asha. 7 points total now. Huge part of obviously identifying whales are their vocalizations. So how do you identify which whale is which, and how do you get those recordings?
Yeah, so we have these underwater microphones that we drop into the water. They're called hydrophones. And depending on the kind of species you're targeting, you'll have a different hydrophone. But it's all set up we have these recorders on the boat, and we'll record these sounds. The sounds vary, right? Blue whales have very, very low frequency calls. So you can drop a hydrophone in the water and you can make a recording and you won't even know it's there, because their sounds are beyond the range of human hearing. And we have to manipulate the sound on our computers to actually be able to hear the sounds they're making. Sperm whales and other toothed whales, so any kind of dolphins or, sperm whales are the largest of the group with teeth, they tend to make more clicking sounds within the kind of the audible range, so we can actually hear them when we're recording them. Sperm whales will they'll make clicking sounds and it'll be like, it's kind of like that. It's very patterned. It's pretty cool, actually. So there's a range of calls, and it's really kind of exciting, and it tells you a lot about their lives. It tells you a lot about the ways they communicate, and they do have pretty advanced ways of communicating, and I think that's something we should all learn to appreciate. I also like that you slipped in a few Brian Skerrys into my round. I don't know how I feel about this.
Asha, I do have one quick question from the audience. Just what is your favorite whale? So do you have a favorite? Is it hard to pick a favorite?
So I'm going to say blue whales because they changed my life, right?
Yep.
And they are the largest animal that's lived on the planet, right? Like, it's kind of mind-boggling. So I always tell people, like, think about the fact that we have the privilege to live on the planet side by side with the largest animal that has ever lived, right? Like, that is, even if you never get to see a blue whale, just the fact and the sense that they're out there in our oceans, like, I think that alone should make us sort of more respectful of these spaces, right? Like we should be working to keep them alive and make sure that other generations also get to live side by side with these amazing animals.
Absolutely. So question number 5, for those that are going underwater, not necessarily near a blue whale, but for how many minutes can a person of average health hold their breath underwater? So how many minutes? 1, 2, 3, 7. What did you put? How many?
I put 1.5. I don't know.
1.5.
I mean,
I'm sorry, that is incorrect. We were looking for 2 minutes. So for 2 minutes. So my follow-up question to you, how long can a whale hold their breath underwater?
I had written 2 minutes and I scratched it out.
Gotta go with your gut.
I got bad this morning. So how long can whales hold their breath? Okay, so that's a really fun question. How long they hold their breath really depends on like what they're feeding on and where their food is, right? So a lot of people assume blue whales, they're so big, like they must be going super deep and exploring these dark places, but it's not true. They go up to maybe 250, 300 meters because that's where their food is. They will largely feed on krill or in Sri Lanka types of shrimp, which tend to be in the middle of the water column. So they don't need to go so deep. But then you take things like sperm whales and in fact, beaked whales, Cuvier's beaked whales hold the record for the deepest dives. I think they go to like 3,000 meters or something. Sperm whales also go pretty deep, maybe 2,000 meters, 1.5 to 2 kilometers. To me, I just think it's unbelievable that they can do that, go to those deep, dark depths on one breath, right? Without, they're so well adapted, so well built to do that. And I think that's amazing. And so they can hold their breaths for a long time, maybe an hour and a half sometimes. I can't even imagine doing that. My breath holding abilities are so bad. It's kind of ridiculous.
Considering it's 2 minutes for humans, it is quite a different amount of time. So let's go to question number 6 now. In which trench is the Challenger Deep located, the deepest part of the ocean? What's the name of that trench?
Mariana Trench.
You got it, Mariana Trench. That is 6 points for you. So 13 points, 6 points if you had Mariana Trench, Challenger Deep located there, deepest part of the ocean. Question number 7, Asha, this one I think might have tricked you, but we'll see. Question 7, which nautical term shares its name with a common type of audio equipment in movie making? So which nautical term?
I just said hydrophone, but I know that's not the right answer, but I was like, I don't know, audio. Yeah, you look very unhappy with my answer, by the way.
Well, I was going to say that you are correct in that your answer is incorrect.
Oh.
So boom is the correct answer. So a boom microphone is used to record sound from a distance in movie making, and then in boating, it's the horizontal pole that extends from the bottom of the mast. I know you spend a lot of your time on boats. How is it different than what the perception that people would assume that you're spending all day on a boat? How is that different than what people would think?
Yeah, and thank you for asking this question, because very often people assume that a lot of my work is like, bikinis and just whales breaching and a cocktail in my hand. And what I can tell you is there's never a time that you can put on a bikini that's not the most practical piece of clothing, right, for the work we do. It's usually like sunscreen, blazing hot sun, a lot of hours standing, basically staring out at a big blue tank of water, right? And something what I think people need to realize also is that, if you say you work in the terrestrial environment, and I know Brian also drew a comparison with the terrestrial environment, and this is not to say it's any easier or harder, but it's just to give context. When you work in the terrestrial environment, if you're working with animals, you'll see signs, right? You will see that poop. It might be that 2 weeks later, you'll be like, wow, an elephant walked through here. It looks about 2 weeks old. All of that's possible. When animals walk through forests, you might see signs like broken twigs or trees turned over or something, and you can follow them. When you work in the ocean, it is not that at all, right? So you will see zero signs. Like when they poop, like I literally have to be there when it's coming out of the whale's butt, because if I'm not there, it starts to dissolve into the ocean, right? So it's all about getting that fresh, right? So that's kind of one of those things. So we don't have these long-term signs of life. So a lot of our work is just about standing there, super patient. The motto on my boat is expect the unexpected, because anything can come up, anything can happen, and we might actually not even see anything. but it is a lot of hard work, tiring work. Also, you're on a boat and you're taking data. That can be tricky, but it's so rewarding, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
Question number 8. I have nothing to even transition from that because you put the nice little bow on your answer. It was perfect. Hard, but worth it. So question number 8, which country elected the first female prime minister in the world? Asha, your answer?
Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka is correct. So you're up to 21 points now. So 21 points. Sri Lanka, first female prime minister in the world. Asha, being the first Sri Lankan to do so many things, what were some of the challenges that you faced, especially as a female?
Yeah, I mean, I think I come from a part of the world where it's a very male-driven society. And I think I was actually talking about this with my mom yesterday. The problem as you know, for me being a marine biologist was people expect it to be a man's job, if at all, right? So we didn't really have marine biologists before I did it. And then I come along onto the scene and suddenly everyone's like, but it's a man's job. Why are you doing it? And I'm just like, all I do is care for the ocean. You don't need to have a specific gender or background to care for something. So that's been sort of like the change in mindset. I mean, today people fully acknowledge what I do and celebrate it, but it was a challenge to kind of encourage them and make them realize that really, as long as you're passionate and hardworking and really care about what you're working on, it doesn't matter who you are and where you come from. And I think that's been one of the things. So I've gone through lots of challenges as a woman, so I'm cool with it. I think it's just actually made me a much better scientist and a much better at what I do.
Maybe not a much better trivia player. We will see, because you only have a couple more questions left. Number 10, reaching speeds of 511 kilometers an hour or 317 miles per hour. In which country was the water speed record set? Asha, what was your answer?
This is crazy. So I thought about this and I feel like somewhere in my subconscious, like I've read about it or something, but obviously it wasn't something, you know, I actually have concerns about fast moving vehicles on the water. Like my work focuses on stopping whales from getting killed by ships, right? And getting hit by boats and stuff. So I tend to sort of like kind of like get a little uncomfortable when we're talking about high speed things. And I think I deliberately switched off where this happened because I wanted to not know. So I don't know the answer.
Okay, so leaving the answer blank. If you're going to throw out a guess, though, because you don't get penalized if you get a wrong answer. So if you had to throw out a guess, what is it?
I want to say somewhere warm, like somewhere in the Arabian Sea. Is that good enough or not? I just say like Oman or something.
I realize now that I skipped question number 9, but that's okay. We'll come back to it. I was too excited to hear your answer to this one. So question number 10, the answer is Australia. So question number 10, Australia. Asha, you studied there. We have people at home playing from Australia. So hopefully the Australians got that one correct. So question number 10 is Australia. So let's go back to number 9. I was too excited to get to question number 10. So question number 9, in Herman Melville's novel Moby Dick, what type of whale was Moby Dick? For 9 points, Asha, what do you have?
A sperm whale.
Sperm whale, yes. So that brings your total up to 30 points. So sperm whale, Moby Dick, sperm whale, 9 points. So 30 points heading into our last final question, your wager. It's close. So according to the UN, within 5%, what percentage of the world's population live within 100 kilometers or 62 miles of the coast? Asha, what's the percentage there?
So I tried to think about it. The thing is, I come from a tropical island where like a high percentage of us do live within 100 kilometers of the coast because it's a pretty small island. So then I tried not to get kind of biased by that. Where, you know, here it's about probably like 70-80% of us. I went with 60%. I really need to beat Brian right now.
Okay, and what was your wager?
2 points.
So 2 points. 60, I'm doing the math here. So 2 points, 60%. Asha, I'm sorry you lost those 2 points. So 40% live within the coast. 40%. I'm sorry, Asha, you're ending with 28 points.
Oh, no.
But before we bring in Brian to talk some smack, you have to tell us about the mission of Ocean Swell and why it is so important to have that local research and those local research centers. So be distraught in a minute, but tell us about the mission first.
Okay, yes. Let's talk about something positive for a change. not my trivia score. But, okay, so the work we do out here in Sri Lanka this is the first marine conservation research and education organization. The work focuses largely on problems here in Sri Lanka because marine biology didn't exist before that. But our mission really is to nurture that next generation of diverse ocean heroes. 70% of our planet is oceans, 70% of our coastlines are in the developing world, but representation from my parts of the world is like abysmal, especially at large scale, very important global meetings. And I want that to change because a small group of people can't make a decision on behalf of the rest of the world. And so for us, it's all about investing and sort of like nurturing local heroes for every coastline. That's my big belief. If we want to save our oceans, every coastline needs a local hero. And so we work very closely with young, up-and-coming, excited, passionate people who want to get into the field, who want a sense of what it's like, who want to try and feel like they can be part of this. And we also work with people who are already on steady paths. They may be lawyers or business people, but we believe everyone has a role to play in saving the oceans. But the most important ingredient is being local, because you are here when the problems arise. You can speak the local languages. You can come up with local solutions. And that's the only way we're going to have a positive impact on the oceans. So yeah, a lot of our work is about how do we shine those lights on all the cool people out there who live and can work in their own backyards, making space for them.
Perfect. Now we have the positive message. Obviously, that's very important. So I think we need to bring Brian back. And so he can gloat just for a minute because he beat you by just 4 points, 32 points for Brian, Asha 28.
I was going to start off by saying, I got every one of Asha's questions right. But that's not true. I actually said 60% on the number of people, percentage of people living near the coast as well. And I think I might have missed a couple more too. So I think it'd be great. But look, I want to shift gears here and just say that I don't have a Muppet, but living in Maine, I do have a lobster stuffy. So
the secret weapon.
That does not look like you, by the way, just FYI.
Really? I see some resemblance, don't you? Anyway.
For everybody at home, Asha and Brian actually have worked together. So this wasn't just from our event Zoom call.
And for the record, I've been with Asha in the field. And when you work with Asha, it is all about yachts and cocktails on the boat. So
yeah, that's right.
Don't let her kid you about anything. There we are. Yep. With Shane Garrow there. Yep. Anyway. Yeah. So
it's a small world, a big ocean, a small world.
She has a trailer. She needs her Fiji water, her green M&Ms. We know all about that. Yeah. Okay.
And I need people to feed me. That's really important. Like, I mean, I cannot soil my hands. They're only available for picking up whale poop. Nothing else. Just to be clear.
Yeah. Well, Asha, Brian, thank you guys so much for coming on, for having the friendly competition, teaching us more about the oceans. You are wonderful explorers and obviously wonderful people. So thank you guys so much for being good sports and playing trivia. You will remember these scores for the rest of your lives.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. It's fun.
All right. Thanks, Greg. So long.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
All right, Greg, we need to hear your score. We had somebody have a whopping 58 points in the chat. So Greg, how did you do?
Oh, my Lord. I was pretty pitiful. I had neither a Muppet or a stuffed lobster. Clearly, that was my problem. So I don't think I'm going to have to quit my job because my scores were so bad. But you know what? I did all right. So
that's why I host, because I know all the answers. That's the key.
That was the whale poop. That's, you figure like only 3 colors. You can get this. No. So, but red, who would have thought? Who would have thought? So, but thank you, Lindsay, once again for hosting this evening. And just to let everybody know, we are switching all of our events upcoming in the fall to a virtual platform. So make sure you take a look at natgeo.org to find out about those events, but also to make a donation to support events like this. I also want to thank, before we sign off tonight, our production team, Shane Weckesser, Jan Armand, and Daniela Thompson. So again, Keep thinking, keep exploring, keep having fun, everyone. Good evening. Bye.